first and foremost, spring break in Florida, even though Miami Beach is saying that, yo, we're going to go ahead and hold it down and prevent y'all from being out here tearing up, still chaos, still trouble, still shootings.
Lester, good evening. Now, here in Miami Beach, ramped up security measures and even a midnight curfew this past weekend have kept things very safe. But Lester, other parts of Florida right now are reeling from chaos. Violence tonight once again upending spring break celebrations in Florida, this time in Jacksonville Beach.
We are currently working 3 separate, unrelated shootings.
All of that in a roughly 40-minute span, sending bystanders scrambling and the city into lockdown.
80 people running down the street, watch a dude drop to his knees.
Now we're learning new details about what might have prompted gunfire that led to 3 people injured and 1 killed. Jacksonville Beach police releasing videos of hundreds of juveniles brawling on the beach.
When the crowd was dispersed, that's when the shootings happened.
And it's not the only incident raising alarm.
Hey, we got a fight over there.
A fight in New Smyrna Beach near Orlando led Volusia County deputies to draw their weapons when they say a 16-year-old pulled out a firearm. Officers chasing down the teen and eventually arresting him. Incidents like these hitting hard for families and vacationers.
It's like the last thing you want to worry about is coming somewhere to have fun and then getting hurt.
But farther south, Miami Beach is using a series of measures to crack down on violence. Do you feel safe this year?
Of course, yes.
Ocean Drive now, a stark contrast to previous years. The city manager also implementing a midnight curfew this weekend.
For 72 hours out of an entire year, we made a decision, and last night, being out on the streets, I think it was the right decision.
Miami Beach now a safe spot in a state still struggling with spring break mayhem. Sam Brock, NBC News, Miami Beach.
So Miami apparently looks like they made the right decision, because those same people that was over there getting down and messing up the beaches over there in Fort Lauderdale and Jacksonville are now the very ones that are committing all of the chaos and the crimes and the issues and trouble that Miami Beach would have been subjected to, but now they've avoided. Who brings pistols to the beach? Listen. I've seen a lot of things. I've never actually seen pistols being brought to the beach. Or at the very least, I've never actually had a pistol or witnessed a pistol being pulled out on the beach. So I'm very, very confused as to what's going on. But it looks like Miami Beach made the right decision, because that's the thing that they want to avoid. They want to avoid the riffraff. They want to avoid the problems. They want to avoid the issues. And I'm going to read that Cash App shortly. I appreciate you. And they no longer want to be subjected to the nonsense and the BS. So shout out to Miami Beach for making the right decision. All of these other cities said that they want to make the money from what Miami Beach was going to be missing out on. And so I think that Miami Beach wants a completely different reputation than what they subjected themselves to in previous years past. Additionally, Chicago has started evicting migrants from their shelters.
Well, in an effort to reduce the strain on city resources, Chicago officials began evicting migrants from homeless shelters on Sunday. Of the about 11,000 people living in those shelters, 34 single adults were removed. The goal is to evict 2,000 people from the system by April. I want to bring in Alice Yin to talk about this. She is the City Hall reporter for the Chicago Tribune. Alice, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So where will all the people that are evicted end up?
So the city has a landing zone that is near a metro station, Ogilvy Station, also near Union Station, where there are tents set up and case managers that essentially direct them back to the beginning of the process to seek a bed in the shelter system. Right now, there seems to be some space so they can go through and go back to the beginning of the process. But earlier during the migrant mission, we have seen migrants waiting out, camping out there in buses, even during the cold when there hasn't been space.
This sound like, I understand the challenge, but when you say they just sort of go back into the process again, this sounds like a terrible idea. Can we go back a little bit? And I want to ask you, why are they doing this? What is the purpose? And then if they're just sort of funneling people back into the shelter system, then how does that alleviate the crisis?
Yeah, so the way the administration has been casting it is trying to discuss it as, out-migration resettlement. But, that is easier said than done, given that a lot of these migrants, they don't have work permits, they don't have a path to self-sufficiency yet, and rental aid has been curtailed. So, yeah, some of them do end up back in the landing zone, going back to the beginning of the process. But the goal is really to, get them out of the city's care and get them on a path to self-sufficiency. Whether that is going to be accomplished will remain to be seen.
It's such a bad idea. It was always a bad idea for this to happen. But, when I first seen Brandon Johnson lead this effort, him and Eric Adams lead this effort as far as the migrant crisis, and was talking about how they were going to be sanctuary cities and they were going to be putting up cities' resources to support what was happening as far as the migrant crisis and things like that. Instead of calling for the borders to be closed so that we can better vet the people that was coming through here and they to do it legally. And instead of us doing that, they said that we was going to open up our cities and we was going to allocate budgets and resources to do it. I knew that it was a zero-sum game because what are you going to do? Support them forever, continue to have social services, put them on your backs? You can't fund this forever. You already operating at a deficit. He was operating at a deficit when Lori Lightfoot was the mayor of the city. And then it just became exponentially worse because he doubled down and tripled down. And we still don't know where all of the money is going. Where's all of these hundreds of millions and billions of dollars every year that's being spent by these cities that call themselves sanctuary cities? Where's all of this money going and who is it going to? Who are these contractors? It's just money vaporized, disappeared out of the air. And so they go back through the cycle. They actually don't ever get to really do anything. And so eventually they become a part of the system, become a part of our prison system, jail system, whatever. And it just becomes this vicious cycle to where you just create another subclass of people that then become interdependent on the government in order for them to be able to survive, which then makes them another voting class. So it's a very difficult and hard situation and hard conversation to have with people that's just hell-bent on voting one way or seeing things one way because they're not looking for the understanding. Last but not least, New York lawsuits at the World Trade Center over homelessness and crime.
Right now at 5:30, a war of words escalating tonight at one of New York City's largest transit hubs.
We're talking about the Fulton Center in Lower Manhattan. There's a mall inside, and the operator says crime has gotten so bad there, they are breaking the lease and closing down shops. But the MTA says, not so fast. News 4's Erica Byfield breaks down both sides of the story.
There is a real tug of war happening here. Now the MTA is asking a judge to step in and force Westfield to stay. The shops are supposed to be part of Fulton Center's appeal. Retail upstairs, a transit hub that services 8 subway lines down below. But something's happened. Most of the shops are gone, some now filled with art.
It's a beautiful place, but it could be a little more well kept, and they need to do more in assisting the homeless.
Homelessness is part of the reason that Westfield, the mall operator, wants out. Its leaders say crime is also a big issue, so much so that some shop owners aren't renewing leases, others breaking them early.
I guess the homeless issue can become an issue at some point because of how mental health is kicking in.
On Wednesday, we saw homeless advocates near the turnstiles. The MTA is the landlord here. Its leaders told us they have confidence in the NYPD to deal with the crime, and they want Westfield to stay put. So the transit system is suing. The lawsuit filed in federal court last month says that the agency will face irreparable injury if Westfield abandons the Fulton Center, saying that there are 3 reasons that Westfield can break its 20-year lease, and crime and homelessness are not included.
Oh, okay.
Transit leaders accuse Westfield of advancing its own self-serving business interests, saying that hurts the MTA, retail operators, and the public. The lawsuit includes a letter from a Westfield executive which says the current situation is financially unsustainable and Westfield is no longer in a position to be able to operate its premises at Fulton Center.
Listen, what it comes down to is that when you can't get a hold of the issues that is plaguing your city, ultimately it's going to be a trickle-down effect to all of the businesses, the residents, public transportation. Everybody is going to suffer. Everybody is going to suffer. And so the mall operators that are at this location that is one of the busiest inside of New York and Manhattan, is saying that this is unsustainable because it's not creating an environment that's conducive for people that want to shop, which then is affecting our bottom line. And when you start messing up the money, everybody becomes angry. Crime and homelessness. What did I tell y'all was the pillars of the foundation of creating a great environment for a city? First, you got to get a great police presence and you got to tamp down crime, which is one of the reasons why we're about to get into this Pittsburgh situation right now. You got to get a great police presence and people got to feel safe. If you don't get a hold of crime and people don't feel safe, then you might as well throw the whole city away. I don't care how big it is. I don't care how much money you make. New York will go the same way as San Francisco and Silicon Valley and Oakland and all the rest of these liberal cities if they do not get crime and homelessness taken care of. Secondly, school systems, because people don't want to move anywhere where their kids cannot grow up and have a great education. Third, great public transportation, which New York is facing an issue. Thank you, Frankie. I'm going to read that super chat shortly. New York is facing a crisis in their own subway systems. Why do y'all think that they deployed the National Guard to the subway systems, which that's not stopping the crime? People are still committing crime on New York subways. But why do y'all think that they deployed the National Guard to the subway systems? Of all of the things that they've ever tried to get a hold of and take care of, they deployed the National Guard to make sure that people feel safe and get safety in their subway systems. Why? Because if you do not have a good public transportation system for people to be able to get back and forth, a great school system or at least a decent school system that allows for your kids to be educated and not be in these indoctrination camps, and then safety, those are the pillars of a great community and a great city.